You've been lied to, not by one person, not by one book, by the entire system around you. They told you that if you work harder, push louder, hustle longer, the things you want will finally show up. Your job, your relationship, your respect. But here's what no one told you. The harder you chase, the faster it runs. And today, we're going to fix that with a philosophy that's been used by rulers, generals, and strategists for over 500 years. Here's the core idea of everything we're about to talk about. Write this down if you need to. What you chase runs from you. What you become indifferent to moves toward you. That's it. That's the whole philosophy in one sentence. But understanding it and actually living it, those are two completely different things. So we're going to break it down into 8 principles. Each one builds on the last, and together they form a complete operating system for becoming the kind of person that power, opportunity, and respect are naturally drawn to. Let's start with the lie that's been holding you back your entire life. 1. The lie they sold you. They told you to hustle. They told you to want it badly enough. They made an entire culture out of it. Videos of people waking up at 4 a.m., motivational speeches about grinding until your hands bleed, Instagram quotes about how the hungry ones always win. And here's the uncomfortable truth. That's backwards. Machiavelli understood something about human psychology that modern culture refuses to acknowledge. When you show your hunger openly, when people can smell the desperation on you, they use it against you. Your boss delays your raise because he knows you need the job. The person you're interested in pulls back because they can feel how much you need their approval. The investor passes because they sense the anxiety underneath your pitch. It's not cruelty, it's psychology. We are wired to be drawn toward certainty and repelled by need. Think about the animals at the top of the food chain. The lion doesn't sprint after every gazelle in the field. The hawk doesn't dive at every shadow on the ground. They watch. They wait. They move with precision when the moment is right. And that stillness, that patience, that is not weakness. That is the highest form of strategy. So stop being the one who always reaches out first. Stop being the one who explains, justifies, and apologizes before anyone even asks. The last one to move holds the most power. Remember that. 2. The still hunter. Here's a concept I want you to lock in. The still hunter principle. The prey runs. The prey reacts. The prey makes noise and burns energy responding to every stimulus around it. The hunter does none of that. The hunter is a fixed point in a chaotic world, watching, reading, waiting. This translates directly to your life. Are you always the one who initiates contact? Always the one who apologizes first? Even when you're not sure you were wrong? Always the one who over-explains yourself to people who didn't even ask? If yes, you're playing the role of prey, and prey gets taken advantage of. Not always by bad people, but by the simple mechanics of how humans work. When you become someone others cannot easily read, something interesting happens. People become curious about you. Curiosity leads to attention. Attention leads to investment, and investment leads to value. People treat you like you're worth something because you've made yourself slightly mysterious. The fix is not complicated, but it requires discipline. Stop filling every silence. Stop chasing every conversation. Become the still point and watch what comes to you. 3. The death of your old self now. And this is where it gets real. None of what I just said will work if you don't actually bury who you used to be. I'm not talking about a behavior tweak. I'm not talking about reading a few quotes and deciding to text back slower. I'm talking about a fundamental identity shift. Because the version of you that was always chasing, always people-pleasing, always justifying his existence to people who didn't care, that version has to die. Tonight. Machiavelli wrote that you cannot build an empire on an old foundation. You have to demolish what was there before. The anxious version of you, the one that begged for attention, that shrank in rooms to make others comfortable, That version cannot coexist with the powerful version you're building. And yes, it will feel uncomfortable. Letting go of the need for approval always does. But understand this. You cannot walk into your new identity while still dragging the corpse of the old one behind you. Be ruthless with your past self. Not because you hate who you were, but because who you're becoming deserves better. 4. The Cold Art of Detachment. Let's talk about detachment, because most people get this completely wrong. Detachment does not mean you stop feeling things. That's not power, that's numbness. Real detachment means you feel everything and are owned by nothing. Here's the difference. Indifference says, I don't care. Detachment says, I care, but I am not controlled by it. When someone doesn't reply to your message, the indifferent person pretends not to notice. The detached person notices, acknowledges it internally, and continues moving without disruption. When someone says something critical about you, the indifferent person shrugs it off with false coolness. The detached person processes it, extracts what's useful, and lets the rest go. The practical application is this. Stop responding immediately to every emotional trigger. When someone provokes you, pause. When someone ignores you, don't react. When someone offers you validation, don't let it inflate you. When they withdraw it, don't let it deflate you. Because the moment someone discovers what makes you react, they have found your remote control, and they will press those buttons, remove the buttons, become unhookable. And when you do, something almost counterintuitive happens. People cannot stop thinking about you. 5. The frequency of power. Here's something I want you to sit with for a moment. You are a broadcasting system. At every moment of every day, you are transmitting a signal. And the world, the people in it, the opportunities that find you, the energy that surrounds you, responds not to what you want, but to what you broadcast. If your signal is anxiety, you'll find more things to be anxious about. If your signal is scarcity, not enough time, not enough money, not enough respect, you'll attract situations that confirm exactly that. But if your signal is quiet certainty, if you walk into rooms not as someone who needs something from them, but as someone who already has what he needs, the dynamic shifts entirely. This is not wishful thinking, it's psychology. People make dozens of micro-judgments about you in the first few seconds of any interaction, and those judgments are based almost entirely on the energy you bring into the room, the way you stand, the pace at which you speak, the steadiness of your eye contact, the ease in your posture. Change what you broadcast. Talk about your life as if the chapter has already turned, not as a performance, but as a declaration, because declarations shape reality. They always have. 6. The weapon of patience. I want to ask you something. Think about the last time something you wanted didn't come when you expected it. What did you do? Did you push harder? Send the follow-up message when you shouldn't have? Made a move out of frustration that you later regretted? Most men destroy their own opportunities not through lack of effort, but through lack of patience. The investor who sells right before the stock rises. The man who sends the desperate message right before the other person was going to reach out on their own. The entrepreneur who quits right before the turning point. Here is the Machiavellian reframe. The delay was never the rejection. The delay was the preparation. Patience is not passive waiting. Patience is strategic stillness, holding your position with complete internal certainty while the external world catches up to where you already are. It is the most underestimated weapon in any man's arsenal. The men who master patience don't just wait. They use the waiting period to become stronger, sharper, and more prepared than anyone around them, so that when the door finally opens, they don't fumble walking through it. 7. The enemies within. Let's be honest about something. The biggest threats to your success are not your competition. They're not your circumstances. They're not the economy, or your background, or the people who didn't believe in you. The biggest threat is the noise inside your own head. 3 voices in particular. The voice of self-doubt. Maybe I'm not ready. Maybe I'm not enough. Maybe this isn't for me. the voice of victimhood. This is happening because of them, because of how I was raised, because the world is unfair. And the voice of comfort, I'll start tomorrow, I'll change next month. Things aren't that bad right now. These voices are not you. They are patterns, learned responses that your brain developed to keep you safe and small. They learn to speak in your own accent, your own rhythm, your own logic. That's what makes them so convincing. The strategy is not to fight them. Fighting gives them energy. The strategy is to recognize them, label them, and then walk past them anyway. You don't negotiate with parasites. You starve them of the attention they need to survive. Every time you act, despite the voice of self-doubt, you weaken it. Every time you take responsibility instead of playing the victim, you shrink that voice too. The internal battle is the only battle that actually matters. Win it, and the external world becomes manageable. 8. The arrival test. One last thing, and this might be the most important thing in this entire video. What happens when you actually get what you wanted? Most people never think about this. They're so focused on the arrival that they never prepare for what comes after it. And then it happens. The job, the relationship, the success, the recognition. And they unravel. They celebrate too hard, relax too fast, and lose the very discipline that got them there. This is the arrival test, and it separates the men who build lasting power from the men who just visit it briefly. When what you've been working toward finally shows up, receive it calmly, not with an explosion of relief, not with a collapse of all the structure you've built. Receive it like someone who expected it, like a king returning to a throne he always knew was his. Because here's what's true. The arrival is not the destination. It's a checkpoint. The version of you that got there has to keep being that version, or you won't stay there for long. And be careful of who congratulates you when you arrive. The people who show up when you've made it, but were nowhere near you when you were building, they are not your people. Your loyalty belongs to the process, and to the people who were present in it.